Hey guys, Roth from Georgia here with you, aka VHS82 apostrophe. It is episode 3 of my ongoing X-Files season 2, episode 3, simply titled Blood. David Nutter, returning director, brings us this episode, drops September 30th, 1994. Glenn Morgan and James Wong, generally the writers up to this point in many of the episodes. In this one, just give us the teleplay. Darin Morgan, if you remember, just recently played Fluke Man on The Host. He is the writer of the story, and he will be for quite a number of episodes. This one is an interesting episode as it highlights two interesting things. The Lone Gunmen make their second appearance, first time since EBE. That was episode, I want to say it was 17 in season 1. And our main, well, I guess two other things. Our main antagonist in this one, well, I wouldn't really call him an antagonist. There is a much larger antagonist overshadowing the entire story here. But for the moment, our antagonist, Funsch, is played by one William Sanderson. You may not know that name, but he was Sebastian on Blade Runner, 1982 Blade Runner. And I have not seen him in many things, and so that was interesting to see his name pop up for this episode, but nowhere near as amazing as we'll see with episode 4. But we'll get to that when we get to that. But that was an amazing surprise. And the other thing this episode sort of points a finger to, I guess, or directionally speaking, points to the infamous Texas Tower shooter, Charles Whitman, August 1966, I believe, killed 16 people shooting from a tower. And that is sort of played out, except for our main character, Funsch, is not a great shot, thankfully. In fact, I'm not even sure how many people, I'm not sure if he might have killed a few, maybe one or a couple. One, thinking about the windshield he shoots into, that might have killed the driver of the vehicle. But thankfully, Mulder will get there up there in time to disarm our very confused individual. He is outstanding. William Sanderson is absolutely outstanding in this episode. Basically, you have here is an X-Files version of George A. Romero's The Crazies. Makes a great companion piece to watch with The Crazies. In fact, that would be a great double feature, one that would not take up much of your evening. Watch The Crazies, or even the remake if you like. It's not a bad movie. Actually, it's a pretty good movie for a remake. But I prefer Romero's classic. I've actually visited the town where that was shot at, in part at least, or much of, I think. And you know, the X-Files only runs, about 45 minutes? So this is a nice companion piece to Romero's The Crazies. And really, in effect, this is what you have here going on. Eventually, these are the pieces that Mulder will put together. Initially, he's sort of dumbfounded, as well as everyone. You have a community here. Trying to remember the name of it. I was hoping it would just come to my mind. I didn't write it down for some reason. Didn't write much of anything down, in fact, for this one. It's a pretty straightforward episode. The community has experienced, I want to say at this point, like 5 or 6 individuals are responsible for 22 deaths, I think, in like just a period of a few months. And so it is quickly, got on the radar of the FBI in terms of what's going on in this town. One guy in particular will be in an elevator, and seems like what we have here is some sort of hallucinatory drug or something is creating hallucinations where people will be seeing the readout or the the panel, electrical panel for whatever you're dealing with here. In this case, whether you're at an ATM machine or in this case in the elevator, the message is sort of subliminally but directed towards a specific individual will attemptively get these people to be extremely paranoid and fearful of those around them, thus and sort of egging them on to just go ahead and kill everyone around them. Not of all of which I don't think act upon it, but some do. And this one man in the elevator will act out upon it, and he'll kill, I want to say 5 or 6 people with his bare hands. Not sure how all that goes down, but all we get is the aftermath of it, which is not a very pretty sight. This guy must have just went absolute bonkers loony, man. Rob Zombie's Michael Myers style, sort of just rampage. It's funny because when you see him in the elevator, it just doesn't seem like the kind of guy that would do this or be capable of this. You got another instance where a girl is very late at night picking up a car from the mechanic's place, where the husband's out in the car. Why is not the husband going in to get the, I don't know, I'm not sure. But she goes in to fetch the car, and the mechanic wants to point out other issues inherent with what he's found, and wants to point it out to her. And as he's trying to, she sees the computer readout of the diagnostic test, and it tells her that he is lying and that he is going to rape her. And so she becomes extremely paranoid and fearful, and eventually acts out of what she believes is self-defense, what is really just acting out, murdering him. He has no idea what's coming. And so you sort of have this Funsch now, our main guy here at the beginning. We see him in the very, very beginning. I think he's got one of those jobs where all day long, all he does is pump in, type in zip codes, maybe it is a mail place or something. And, and his little calculator thing starts to tell him, I think it starts to tell him that, kill them all, or whatever. And he starts to get very, 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 very paranoid, where he eventually just ends up leaving, I think. And he will fight the urge. He will fight the urge all the way up until he is actually, he's in a store trying to, actually he may not even have that job anymore at the other place. And I can't remember what happened. Something must have happened. Well, he's trying to get another job, and maybe he just sort of wigged out or something. And I know what it is. I remember. He was low end of the totem pole, and they were just doing cutbacks. That's right. I remember now. And so they basically gave him, his yellow slip and just said, sorry, we really appreciate and love everything you do. Wish you were higher up on the totem pole, but you're not. And so got to go. So that's why he's getting it. Just kind of came to me. See, I do watch these things. I'm just 53. What do you want? And so he, of course, he's denied the ability to even hand in an application, which results in a heightened sense of just probably just fear and worry and anxiety. And of course, he sees I think a television screen or something starts playing. I think he starts playing just pieces of violent acts. One of them was the LA riots, I think. There's a few in succession that you can sort of pick out, and tells him to grab the rifle and just kill them all. Well, he will grab the rifle, but to the point where he is going to unload won't be until a little bit later on, and that'll lead to our final, the finality of the episode. In the meantime, Mulder is starting to put together pieces where he thinks it's a conspiracy of those who manage the town and the fertilizer they use on the crops in order to ensure the money that comes into the township. But unbeknownst to him, but he will put it together, that really what ultimately this is a conspiracy of a much higher order, where the government or some piece of the government is conducting an experiment and to see how quickly it can cause people to unravel and commit acts of violence, probably, so it'll be, have some military application or something. And so, by the time that, that sort of leads us sort of to the end, where after he basically brings down our tower shooter, Funsch, which, by the way, also too, in the midst of this, in the middle of this episode, he will, again, as I said earlier, visit the lone gunmen for help, and they will sort of enlighten him on, I think, the chemical, I can't remember, something like that has an LSD component, that will sort of put him on the journey, right? And at the end, once he takes down the shooter, Scully rings in. And remember, they're somewhat still separated here, right? And she'll ring in, and before he can even reply to her message, comes up on his phone, something to the effect of "all done, bye-bye." And it just leaves Mulder speechless, just sitting there in silence, as it becomes reality that this, in fact, really was what it was, which was the government acting in the most insidious way, and it just begs the question, as well as George A. Romero asked the question with the crazies, how often has or often does this happen, where the government will just conduct experiments without us even knowing it? And it is a terrifying thought to think that you can suddenly be not in control of your actions as a result of someone else's tampering, be it through drug inducement or whatever it may be. And so it's a pretty good episode, actually, as a standalone episode. Not quite as near as good as episode 4, though, which we'll get to, Sleepless, which will close out disc 1 of season 2. Which is cool. So I think that was basically it. I think I've said everything I want to say on this one. Enjoyable seeing the lone gunman again. So much about this episode, it just feels like things are coming in to its own early on in season 2, and soon it's going to find a very comfortable groove in the piece of vinyl that will be the X-Files from here on out. Not many missteps, I don't think, along the way, but yeah. So anyways, Blood, directed by David Nutter. What did you think about it as a standalone, as a companion piece to the Crazies? Is this kind of thing worry you or give you any level of anxiety at all, or do you not just even think about it because you just got better things to think about? And as with, it is the holiday season, and so as we venture further into December, I do have a few new links down there. We just recently, on the Graveyard Ship podcast, me and Glenn and Sam talked at length on, we had some technical difficulties with Sam, but me and Glenn talked at length on Godzilla -1. Excellent film. If you have not seen it, you really, really owe yourself to go see it while it is still playing. It is an absolutely fantastic, it may be my favorite film of the year. It's just that good. And then, of course, the Thanksgiving link down there, if you have not seen that or heard that yet, that was a fun film too. -1 is just, it's just masterpiece of cinema. It is that good. Anyways, got the Bills on today playing the Chiefs. I don't even think it matters anymore. I think their season pretty much is done. Maybe not. I don't know. But we will see how they do later on. So as always, we end these things off with Go Bills.
This is not a dream. Not a dream.
We might be useful to you.